Good day, everyone. We are welcome to this. Okay, good day, everyone. Please, can we hear me? If you can hear me, you just drop on the chat box that you can hear me. Just say yes, so that I'll be sure that everyone can hear me. Can we hear me?
Yes, Adiza, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. So, good day, everyone. We are all welcome to this wonderful workshop today, organized by the Ignite Research Academy. Now, the Ignite Research Academy is an academic startup. It's an educational startup that was initiated by groups of graduate students who are passionate about academia, research, and innovation. It aspires to become a world class. Dr. Folorisho, please, can you mute your mic first?
Okay, sorry for that, please. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Ignite Research Academy is an educational startup that aspires to be a world-class academy that's suitable for high-quality research capacity development. The vision of the academy is to build a network of competent and technologically aware researchers through research and through capacity development. So over time, in the aspect of capacity development, the academy organized a workshop series themed postgraduate to North and Bold, and it has been ongoing for since November, and we are rounding up the workshop very soon. So today is one of the days for our workshop, and we have with us a seasoned academia who would be presenting on getting recommended. So I will just read the profile before I'll call him on to take stage. We have Dr. Toliha Abiodun Folorunsho with us today. Toliha Abiodun Folorunsho is currently a faculty member at the Department of Mechatronics Engineering, Federal University of Technology, Minna. He holds a PhD degree in computer engineering with specialization in artificial intelligence and control from the Federal University of Technology, Minna. He also has a master's in mechatronics and automotive University Technology, Malaysia. And then he has his bachelor's degree in electrical electronics engineering from the famous Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso. Now, before he joined academia, Dr. Folorisho had worked in various fields of engineering. Last was as a quality control engineer with Sapiem Contracting Nigeria Limited at the Advanced Engineering Innovation Research Group, where he majors in the field of control, robotics, and automation, embedded system development, artificial intelligence, as well as precision agriculture. So right now, I'll be calling on Dr. Folorisho to take the floor as he takes us through the journey of how we can get our letters of recommendation, academic transcripts, and also proof of language proficiency. You're welcome, sir. Please, you can start presenting and.
Okay, Adiza, good evening, and thank you very much for giving me this rare privilege to be in the midst of everybody. Firstly, I would like to apologize to everyone. I don't know what happened. My slides just disappeared now from my computer, and I can't find it again, but I'll just have to make a provision. for that. So basically what we'll be doing will be a knowledge sharing session. I just try to share the first screen of the slide so I wouldn't be changing my slide and you wouldn't be seeing anything. Can you all hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I want more, first of all, let me apologize. I don't know what happened to the slide, but immediately after the presentation, I'm going to reshare the slide so that everyone can have it. So, okay, sorry, please. So just have to stop sharing. So I just have to pin my camera. Okay. So good evening, everybody. So basically, what we'll do today is I'll just have to change the mode. So we will basically be sharing our experience. How do you get your letter of recommendations? How do you get your proficiency letter? And how do you get handle your transcript issues? So one of the first issue we want to raise here will be the fact that you want to get your letter of recommendation. Basically, in getting a letter of recommendation, there are two things involved. And the first thing is one, why do we have to get a letter of recommendation? So getting a letter of recommendation, it means that you are in the process of applying for a postgraduate scholar program, and you require, or it is required of someone to speak good of you. You get someone to speak good of you, and someone speaking good of you means that the person at the long run will have to recommend you for the program which you have applied for. So in doing such, what is required for you to put in are in two folds. It is either you are required to put in a letter of recommendation or a letter of reference. A letter of recommendation or a letter of reference. So what's the difference between a letter of recommendation or a letter of reference? So we have to differentiate these two. So in course of postgraduate application, these two matters. So what's the first one? Letter of reference. Letter of reference often is often required of you in course of your application process. And now, what does the letter of reference mean? It means that somebody will have to write something in your honor, and the person will have to give it to you. So the letter of reference is often written as to whom it may be concerned, meaning that you have that letter and you can continuously use that letter, not for only one application. You can continuously use that letter for what? Multiple applications, which means that I can use it to that letter of reference. I can apply to Federal University of Technology. That same letter, I can use it for University of Alabama. That same letter, I can use it for University of Manchester. That's when it is required of the applicant to do what? To submit a letter. Now, that is what? Letter of reference. But most often than not, in application processes, what is required of you is that you will have to submit a letter of what? Recommendation. So what's the difference between letter of reference and letter of recommendation? Reference, your referee gives you the letter and you can use it as you want. But letter of recommendation, it is often written by the recommender, and the recommender in this instance submits that in your honor, which means that you may not be privy to see the content of the letter of recommendation. You get now? So letter of reference and letter of what? Recommendation. So we've differentiated these two, which means that the reference letter, you can get it, be with you, and you do what? You continuously use it. But the letter of recommendation, which is most often required of you, your recommender writes something in your honor, and you do what? And he submits it. So you don't get to see what the person is submitting for you, because you must have waived your right to see what the person has submitted for you. So how do you get to do this such that whatever the person is submitting in your honor, it's something favorable? It's just like one, You want me to recommend you. I do not know you, and you want me to recommend you. So what's the guarantee that I'm going to write something good in your honor? You see now, what's the guarantee that I will be able to write something in your what? In your honor. So now it means that we have to look at the condition you have to follow in selecting who will be your recommender. Condition to select who will be your recommender. Number one rule of selecting who will be your recommender, that person must be a known person to you. Number one rule, the recommender must be a known person to you. Why must the recommender be a known person to you? The recommender must be a known person to you so that whenever he or she receives an email saying recommend this is required for candidate XYZ, the person should be able to do what? Respond immediately. Number one rule, the recommender must be a known person to what? To you. So it means that if the recommender is a known person to you, the person will willingly be willing to write something in your honor. The next thing is the person must be willing and able to write. These are two different things. Willing, I wish to write. Able, I am not chanced to write for you in this instance. Take for instance, I am willing to write for anybody, but the question is, am I chanced to write? So it means that I am willing, but I am not able to write for you in that honor. So why do you want to select somebody that is willing but not able to write for you? And somebody may be able to write for you but not willing to write for you. So you need to be very careful when you select in this instance. So the first thing we've said is that one, the person must be a known person to you. Two, the person must be willing and able to write in your honor. If the person is willing and able to write in your honor, the onus also lies on you to do what? To explain the purpose of which you are applying to the person, so that the person knows the content at which he or she must write in your honor. Most often when I receive recommendations, requests from our past students, what is often required of me is to tell my students, brother or sister, write whatever you wish I should write in your honor. Write it and send to me. So that's what that does for me, is that it gives me an idea of what the person is applying for and what the candidate wants me to write in his or her honor. Now, remember, the number one rule we said is that the person, it must be a known person. So because I know you already, so wherever you write for me, I must be able to place a judgment that, okay, I know XYZ candidates, and because I know XYZ candidates, what XYZ candidate has written or sending to me, I can modify it to suit my own purpose, not just using it verbatim what the person has sent. So number one, the person must be known to you. Number two, the person must be willing and able to write. Number three, the candidate must be able to explain the purpose of what he or she wants to do, or why the person needs to write that application for you. So the third one will be that you need to choose a faculty member for your recommendation. Why do you need to choose a faculty member for your recommendation? Most applications will require somebody that knows you and that has mutual relationship with you. So somebody that knows you and have mutual relationship with you, and because the purpose of this recommendation is academic, so it will be required that the person that has taught you before must be able to write something in your honor. Now, this has to do with one, while in school, you must do what? Create a relationship. Create a relationship in the sense that you must create a relationship with your what? With your lecturers. You must create a relationship with your who? Your lecturers. Now, here is the game. I don't know you in school, or we do not have any relationship together. I also know you're a passive member of my class. When you graduate, you now want me to write a recommendation in your honor. I don't think it works like that. It doesn't work like that. So what happens? Most often you don't get the person writing something good for you, or the person does not respond to your request. So if the person does not respond to your request, what happens? At the end of the day, you lose your application, because you do not have somebody to do what? To stand in for you, that I know XYZ candidate and I can vouch for him, and the person has these characteristics and has this traits. The person can be able to undergo research. The person can be able to do this and do that. So one, it is important that you must know the person you are writing for and the person writing for you. You must have a mutual relationship with the person. And how do you have mutual relationship with the person? You need, while in school, you need to have a good relationship with all your lecturers. And now, not necessarily you having good relationship with all your lecturers counts. You must also be able to work with them such that they will know you and they can be able to write for you. I'll give you an instance. During my undergraduate days, we finished school. I think 4 or 5 years later, we needed to go for our postgraduate studies. And in going for our postgraduate studies, one of the things required is also a recommendation letter. Then the letters have to be written in envelopes and signed by the person. Because I had good relationship with my level advisor, most importantly, and he was also one of the persons that taught me in course of my study. So what did I do? I put a call through to him, and okay, said you needed to give me ample time. Yes, that means he is willing and he is able. And for him to be able to do it for me, I needed to give him ample time to do the what? To do the to write the letter for him. So I gave him 2 weeks. On the expiration of the second week, I did call him to remind him. And lo and behold, he wrote it for me and I got it. This is because one, he knows me. He did not even have to ask me that, Folorunsho, please give me, write something or send in your CV and the rest to me so that I could extract some things and be able to write in your honor. He did not do so. So what did he do? Based on the experience we had together, and because we kept in touch even after graduation from school, so he was able to write something good in my honor. And lo and behold, I got the admission, and that was why or how I was able to complete my master's degree. So most importantly, for you to select a recommender for yourself, the person must be a known person to you. The person must be able and willing to write in your honor. You must have a relationship with the person. You must be able to explain to the person the basics of what you want the person to write in your honor. You must select a faculty member, because selecting a faculty member, since it has to do with academic, the person needed to be able to write some things in your honor with respect to your what? Your academic level, saying, okay, I taught the person XYZ course, and having taught the person XYZ course, the person did well, the person has good skills in writing, the person can undergo research successfully and can undergo research successfully. The person can carry out research with little or no supervision. The recommender also must be able to write some things about your personal skills, your personal traits, and the rest like that. And must be able to state also that if he or she has the opportunity, he can also supervise you if you were in his school or you were in his field of study. And let's drop a caveat here now. It does not necessarily mean that your recommender must be of the same field with you. But it is good the person is of the same field with you so that he or she can be able to say, okay, I taught him XYZ. No, but you can have your mentors in academic. Take, for instance, I have mentors that wrote for me that we are not in the same field as I am, but they know me and they can say something about me in course of my study. But it's always good you have somebody in your field of study that will write in your in your honor. So if you are to do this, having somebody to write in your honor, what I will advise you to do is, one, you give the person ample time. Take, for instance, do not bring the fire brigade approach. Why shouldn't you bring the fire brigade approach? Take, for instance, now I know application seasons are gradually closing, new ones are opening for 2022. So what happened in the past 2 weeks? I think, if I am not exaggerating, I have filled over 50 recommendations, and you have for maybe one person two or three recommendation letters. So just imagine, I have 50 to fill, and every an individual have up to two, three, four, five. Some have up to 7 recommendations. Now, so if you had given that recommender ample time, the person would have done what? Create time to say, okay, I am feeling for candidate A, do like this. I will fill today, 2 today, 3 today, which means that you've given the person ample time to be able to do this for you. So giving the person ample time allows the person also to do what? Write good things in your honor, understand the questions being asked, and feel appropriately, so that you can be able to do what? Get the admission or get the space, whichever as it may imply. So basically, you need to do what? Give the person ample time. And also, one thing you need also to do is help the recommender. Help the recommender in the sense that put a draft together and say, sir, this is a draft of what I would like you to write in my honor. And that helps the recommender in a very long way. So he doesn't have to start typing. All he does is edit your thoughts in his own way and present for you. And that also helps to reduce the number of pressure, because you are talking to Professor X, and Professor X has one way or the other taught 200 times 10 students in the past. So most likely he also has many recommendations to do. So you helping him out to do what? Help him by giving him a draft, giving him heads up of what to write in your honor will go a long way to ease it, so it will satisfy the condition that one is willing to write for you, but is he able? Does he have the time to sit down, start typing long things? No. So you helping him to do that will go a long way. So in all, for one key thing we all miss out is, I know you while you were in school does not mean I will be willing to write anything in your honor. So it is important, before you fill anybody's name, you need to ask that person, sir, will you be willing to write? Will you be willing and able to write in my honor? So you must always ask. So having asked, definitely, if the person is chanced, they will tell you, yes, I am chanced. Take, for instance, I did tell a student of mine that I have a queue. If he doesn't mind being on the queue, and my queue, I think I will finish attending to the queue by December 15th. So if you do not mind me writing in your honor from December 16th, fine, use me as your recommender. Otherwise, please look for another person. So if he accepts my terms and conditions, fine, I will definitely squeeze in time to attend to that. And also, having ensured that you ask the person if the person will be willing, please try as much as possible. Do not pressurize the person. Pressurize the person will mean that the time is about elapsing, and you keep on reminding, pushing. So what does that do? That will just ensure the person will just, the pressure from this person is too much. Let me just write something in his honor and let him allow me rest, and Google just write something that may not be favorable to you at the end of the day. Then the last one is, which is also very important, and I know many of the students applying for postgraduate, many applicants do this, which I think personally it's very wrong, is that just because you need a professor or someone in the academia to write in your honor, you approach someone that does not know you. Fine, I may be able to do it for you, but others may not be able to do it for you. So approaching someone you do not know may not be a good option for you. Why won't it be a good option for you? Because the person does not really know much about you, much to write for you. And even if he forgets, he doesn't have anything to lose because he doesn't even know you to write. So always approach people that know you. And how do you approach people that knows you? You have finished school for 4 or 5 years. You want to go back to someone that you had relationship 4 or 5 years. We meet a lot of persons along the line. And how do you ensure the person still remembers you? Is that you keep in touch. It is very, very important that you keep in touch. So having said this about our recommendations letter, so I'll just give a recap before I move to the next subtopic, which is transcript one, is that for you to select a recommender, the person must be willing, the person must be a known person to you. Avoid people you don't know, to give them ample time to be able to write. Help your recommender in the sense that give them a draft or heads up about the program you're applying for and what they should write in your honor by doing what, writing a draft for them, giving them your CV to go through, and giving them your CV to go through, and also a draft will do a long way to help in that instance, and also give them what, ample time to be able to write for you, as well as do not I repeat, do not pressurize them. And I will also want to repeat that do not do not do not use people you don't have relationship with as your recommender. So the next thing we want to talk about is transcripts. So what is transcript and why do we need transcript? Transcript is just more or less like, I will say, your CV in terms of when you are applying for a job. Your CV, when you are doing what? When you are applying for a job. Basically, when you are applying for a job, your CV, your resume speaks for you in your absence. So, what speaks for you in terms of your academic qualification is your transcript. So, your transcript speaks for you that you have a first class, you did a basic electrical electronics engineering, you scored A, you want to do digital image processing for your masters. Your transcript tells you that you've done something image processing, you've done digital signal processing in your undergraduate, and you had A in the course, so you are qualified to take up that course, that field, because you have prerequisite knowledge in that field. So how do you go about your transcript? Okay, so I want to presume many of us on this call today are Nigerians, and we finished from or we will finish from a Nigerian school that will require us to get transcript. We know many schools have issues with issuing of transcripts, and some schools are doing very well with transcripts. One of the schools doing very well with respect to transcripts that I know, and not because I work there, because I know they are doing well, is the Federal University of Technology, MENA, where in 5 minutes you can get your transcripts to wherever you want. So in instances where your school, you know your school is not up and doing with respect to transcripts, how do you do, or what do you do to beat that transcript challenge? One way is my approach. What's my approach? My approach is I got the unofficial transcripts. The unofficial transcripts in the sense that I had a senior colleague of mine get my transcript. And what did I do with the transcript? I kept the transcripts to myself. And this may not be standard, but I just need to do the right thing for myself, not to lose the admission. So in most courts, you will have what they call original copy to attest on the transcript that you have original copy. The transcript you are presenting is an original copy. So I went to the nearest court. I got the photocopies of the original transcript as certified true copy, stamped and signed from the court. So what do I do? What did I do with those photocopies? In course of my application process, I upload those transcripts as my tentative transcript, pending when my school will be able to send the original transcript. And lo and behold, the school I finally went to actually accepted the certified true copy as my transcript on condition that on my resumption, I must present the real transcripts addressed to them. So if you do this, I think it will go a long way in helping you solving the challenge of the transcript. What is the other way that you can solve the transcript issues? One, because you have graduated, you are no longer in schooling as at the time you are applying for your transcript. It will require you, for most schools that their transcript process are not automated or online, it will require you to have a very good pal back in school. A pal that you can call at 12 midnight that, hey, bros, I need a transcript. So I have sent the money to your account. Please help me do the processing. And a pal in the sense that the pal, you don't have to remind him again to do that. All he or she does is to quickly the following morning to do your application for you, process it. If it's school that you can still get the hard copy, he gets the hard copy and ensures the hard copy is sent to you or is sent to your destination. And some schools also allow you to have student copy. I tell you, if you have your student copy will also certify you or help you out when it comes to you going to the court. So you can actually use your student copy as a tentative you can use your student copy as a tentative transcript pending when you will get your full transcript. Then the second thing we will talk about, or the third thing we will have to talk about, I know my time is well spent. I apologize for taking too much time. I know also Dr. Osho is waiting. I apologize for biting into your time. The third thing we have to talk about is the issue of proficiency. So what does the proficiency letter does for you? It just satisfies that one, candidate ABC has been taught in English language and he has some extent of proficiency in speaking or in oral and in writing, and you can communicate effectively in English language. So who does this for you? Most often, you get this from the registrars of your school, and your registrar will have to write in your honor. Also, other than registrars, your professors or your recommenders writing. And this is the reason why I said you must know your recommender. So it is important when your recommender writes, he has to put the statement in your recommendation that I know this candidate has, or this candidate is excellent in communication in English language, both in writing and in what? Oral communication. And you have good presentation skills in what? In English language. So you see now, in the recommendation letter, this is written in it, but it doesn't suffice in most instances. It will still be required that you present a letter of what? Proficiency. And because you are not in school again, it requires you to have a what? A good pal that will help you out processing, because proficiency letter in most schools are still not automated and are still obtained manually. So you need someone to quickly run to the registry department of your school to do what? To get these letters for you. So bottom line in everything we've said today, the takeaways in the 3 points is that one, for you to get a good recommendation, you need to do what? Keep the relationship you have built while in school with your lecturers, with your professors, with seniors, with your mentors while in school. Two, you need to have good buddies, good pals in school. When one is graduating, you still need to renew. So when you are in school, your school son becomes your pal in school that will do all your errands for you. Now, when your school son is graduating, The school son of your school son becomes your school son that will do the errand for you. So constantly you need to always have someone in school that will do that running around for you till you do what? Till you achieve the lofty heights you want to go to when it comes to getting transcripts, getting a recommendation letter. Because if you have a pal in school, your pal can always run to the recommender you have selected. Sir, you remember this person that graduated? Yes, I remember him. Sir, you've not done his recommendation. I will do it. So now one becomes the person that will always go and disturb, not you pursuing him up with phone calls and the rest. Most of the time, we are busy. Yes, Dr. Osho can attest. We are very busy people. So we we may not even pick your call and they just like, this person is calling me again. His wahala is too much. Or it just blocks you at the end of the day when the pressure becomes too much and it cannot meet up with your demand. And what happens? You lose it. So most importantly, you need to have pals that will do your runnings in school. You need to keep good relationship while in school. So with this, I hope I have been able to give my own views with respect to how you can best get, how you can, wow, there's a feedback. So please, can you mute Akairo Ndako? So this, with this, I think we can be able to get good recommendations. Having gotten good recommendations, we can also be able to get transcripts and our proficiency letter with ease. Apologies again, I lost my slides, and I will have to remake and I will share with you immediately after the call. So thank you very much to the organizers for giving me this rare privilege to be here today. So I will be willing to take as much questions you have as time will permit. Adiza, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. What a wonderful presentation there. We really appreciate. For all my years of experience in application, I never knew that there was a difference between a reference letter and a recommendation letter. Thank you so much, sir. So we'll be going straight into the question and answer section, and we'll be having like 10 minutes for that. So we already have some questions on the chat box. Please, if you have a question, you can quickly drop it while the presenter addresses your question. Sorry, we might not be able to take voice, but if you want to use your voice, we might just take one or two so that we can go to the next presentation. So, sir, we have some question on the chat box. The first one says, sir, must the proficiency in English be addressed to a particular school for those of us who are applying to different schools at a time?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So it depends on one, the school giving you the proficiency letter. So take for instance, the school I work here, you can't get a proficiency letter that looks like a reference letter. So what do I mean by a reference letter? That it will be stated to whom. So it means it's a blanket letter that you can constantly use. My university will require you to state where that letter will be addressed to. So once that letter is addressed to a particular institution, you know that you cannot use for the institution that it is not being addressed to. So every university has a template of how they write theirs. Where had been my slides were not missing. I tried to get from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ekiti State University, Enugu State University, and that of FUT Mina. So you see the differences how these universities write their proficiency letter. I think for that of Enugu State University, it's a blanket. You could use it anywhere because it's just written to whom. So without being addressed to anybody. That of OAU and FUT specifically addressed to the institution. So I hope that answers your question. It depends on your the institution the letters is being originated from, which means that some allow blankets, it must be specific.
Okay, thank you so much for the response, sir. Another question here says, can one
You're most
make
welcome.
use
So
of
can I have
more
the
than
next?
one? Yes. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
so the
Please go
second
ahead.
question. Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, the second question reads, can one make use of more than one recommendation for one application? If yes, is it advisable to do that?
Okay, thank you very much also for that question. The same thing I will answer is one, it depends on the school you're applying to. So take for instance, some schools gives you provision for only one recommender. So in that instance, you have only one person to be used for your recommendation. Then the second thing is should I be able to use only one person for all my applications? Fine. In my response to that will be if you are sure that person will give you a befitting response, why not use it? But is it good? Is it advisable? For me, I wouldn't advise you to do that. Why? Because the person doing for you constantly, he may not be chance to satisfy your requirements at all times. So what do? You have plan A, plan B. So, and you can even go ahead as having plan C. So when you distribute this thing to your plan A, plan B, plan C, all your recommendations doesn't fall on one person's neck, and the person doesn't see it as a big tax. So it is advisable to have backups.
Okay, thank you so much for that response. So some people are asking that can standard examination for English proficiency be replaced with proficiency letter? Does it
Okay.
have the same?
Yes. In answering that question, it also depends on where you are applying to. I what do they require proficiency for? Proficiency is being required that you are being your course of study or the programs you've taken in the past were taken in English and that you are good in English. So that suffices. That's most often schools that require proficiency from you will not require you to have a TOEFL or IELTS or other standard tests in English. However, there are some schools that you will still have to provide evidence you were taught in English just to be sure that you were not taught in French. And when you come down here, communication becomes a big deal. So it will be required you to state that okay, all my course of study was taught in English, and also to prove that all your course of study was in English, you will have to take the standard test of English, TOEFL, GRE, and the rest, depending on their requirements. So in short, this question has to do with the institution you're applying to.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate. Other questions here, I think just join the group chat would address that. Okay, yes, concerning the standard English test, sorry. Concerning the standard English tests like this GRE and the likes, we've had a workshop already on that. When we started, I mentioned that it's a series and we've had several workshops before now. So we've had a workshop on that. So just join the group chat and when the video has been edited, we would share it so that you can all go through past workshops. I don't, is there any other person that has a question before we close this section and go to the next presentation?
Yes, Adiza, someone is asking for the link to the group chat.
Okay, I will would post it right away.
Hello, Adiza.
It should be posted. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it's been posted. I've posted it on the group chat. Okay, so thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate your time. So we'll be going to the next presentation. Our presenter has been with us. So I'll be reading his profile and then we would start the presentation. The next presentation is on scholarship offer types. Most times we just apply for scholarship without really knowing what kind of scholarship we are going to be getting. So our presenter will be telling us about the different scholarship offer type, especially that of USA. So our presenter is Mr. Oluwafemi Osho. Mr. Oluwafemi Osho is a PhD human-centered computing student at Clemson University, US. He was a former lecturer of cybersecurity science at the Federal University of Technology, (FUNA). Prior to that, he headed the IT department at one of the foremost primary mortgage institutions in Nigeria, a certified ethical hacker with expertise in information security, privacy, and trust. Oluwafemi is a member of various organizations such as the Global Commission on the Security of Cyberspace Research Advisory Group and Cybersecurity Experts Association of Nigeria, and a fellow of the Nigerian School on Internet Governance. He has published more than 30 research papers on reputable platforms, and he served as a speaker and panelist at different forums, including the N- NIGF, Sci-Fi Africa, and so on. So I would be inviting Mr. Oluwafemi Osho to the podium to take his presentation. If you have a slide, sir, you can present, sir. You're welcome,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Adiza, please, can I interrupt a little before Mr. Shaw presents? So, Dr. Shaw, it's nice seeing you again. Thank you very much for honoring us and everything you do. Thank you very much. It's nice seeing you. So please share the dollar to us and our regards to Joe Biden.
Sanusa, I think, let me, sorry, I'm trying to share my screen. No, that's not the one I wanted to share. Yeah, can you see my screen? Oh.
Not yet,
Hello?
sir.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Share. Sorry, please, excuse me. I'm not used to Google Meet. I do more of. Okay.
No problem, sir. Take your time, sir. Thank you.
So how do I share?
Okay. I think at the bottom of the screen,
Yes, I
there.
see share, but I'm trying to. Okay, let me see which one share. Oh, documents. I'm looking for. What happened now? My slides. Okay, no window now. The tab. Let me see which one I can share with the tab. Select the tab to preview Office. Wow, this is not funny. Okay, if I share my screen, it's not giving me. I'm trying to pick. I should be able to pick my PowerPoint.
Sir, is the PowerPoint already opened on your system?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It
I think
is.
if you want to share,
It is open, but it's not.
pick a window instead of a tab.
Yes, that's what I picked. The only option is giving me is the window, this concurrent window, this Google Meet window. That's the only
Okay.
option I'm getting.
Okay, I was thinking it was supposed to open all.
You're
all.
presenting your screen. That's all. Except, okay, if I open, do you see anything?
Yes, so
Yes,
you
sir.
just maximize it now.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sorry for the delay, everybody.
No
Okay, my
problem,
name
sir.
is Femi
Thank you,
Osho,
sir.
and even though Dr. Talia calls me doctor, I'm still Mr. Femi Osho, because you don't get doctor until you get your PhD, and I haven't gotten my PhD. So I'll be talking about, I know the title is Scholarship Offer Types. Just like Adiza said, I'll be focusing more on US because that's the terrain where I'm used to. But I'll just touch on each one generally. So basically, I'll just quickly, in less than 30 minutes, why do you need funding? What are the funding opportunities that are available to you? how to secure funding, then how to get ahead of the pack. So why do you need funding? That's the first one. Unlike in Nigeria, where you maybe 200, 300,000 annually can, get you a master or PhD degree, maybe like school fees. When you go abroad, it's usually very expensive, especially in the UK. In the US, where I am, it's very, very expensive. Expensive, except your father is, should I say, very rich. You might not be able to fund yourself, in school. Why is it expensive? When you come to places like this, the amount of resources that they have, I don't know who I was telling recently. I said, like in my former school, I was formerly in another state. When I saw like a petroleum engineering, when you go to their petroleum engineering department, you would think you are NLPC refinery. And it is supposed to be a small university. It was at Missouri, that school at Missouri. And how do they get money to be able to put, these things in place? By the time you finish school here, I can guarantee you can go straight into the industry. They don't need to do you any training for you to be able to fit in, because all the skills that you need to succeed, you get them. That is reality. Now, for them to be able to provide all these resources, where will they get the money from? It's unlike in Nigeria, where you have most of the universities are funded by government. It's not done yet. Yes, it's usually like, yes, you have state, they call it state, but it's owned by like more or less like what we call the local governments. But each school has to look for money themselves. Each department has to, everybody makes effort to make sure they contribute to the pool, or else tomorrow they can cancel a program. Yes, because that program is not bringing them money. So where do they get all this money from? It is from a lot of them come from the student, they get money from other sources, but a lot come from the student. That is why education in places like in places like Canada, in places like UK is very expensive. You can see what I have here, the average tuition, yes, it depends on the school and it depends on the program, but the average is around $30,000 in the US. In Canada, it's around 13,000, US dollars. In UK, it's around 11,000 pounds. These things, when I say it depends on the school, some schools are, what do you call them? Some schools are, if it is private schools, obviously it is going to be more expensive. If it is like what we call Ivy League schools, the bigger the schools, the bigger the reputation of the schools. Yes, most of the time, the bigger the school fees. Then your program too. For example, if you are doing MBA, generally MBA is usually expensive, because they believe that it is business administration, is management course, and so on. So these are some of the things that determine. But overall, generally, school fees abroad is very expensive, and that is why most times we need funding. Now, when I say average tuition, that is more like, in quotes, what we call school fees. Yes, you have not talked about your cost of living. You buy books, you buy rent. For example, where I'm living currently is just like a studio apartment, and I'm paying about $425 every month. If you multiply that in Nigeria, that is above 200,000 every month that I pay just for house rent alone. I've not talked about utility. My utility alone is around, that is water and power. You're talking about $70, $80 every month. You have not talked about, these are things that you've not talked about. Food, you're talking about maybe like average of $100, every month. Where are you going to get money from? And you must do insurance once you are here. Health insurance is key. If you have a car, it is compulsory. You must do car insurance. These are things that take away money. Where do you get the money from? That is why you need funding if your parents are not buoyant enough to sponsor you. What are the funding opportunities that are available? One of them, yes, we call scholarships, which is the one that all of us are used to. So I know there's no need to say much about it. The other ones are what we call graduate assistantship. This is popular in the US. And that is why, for me, I want to sell US to you. Yes, apart from the fact that I want to talk about funding, I also want to sell US to you. US is the only country, one of the few countries where you come to where you can do your PhD in quote almost free of charge, even though school fees is about $30,000. So how do they do that? Mostly, it's not usually scholarships. Most of the time is what we call graduate assistantship. So graduate assistantship is very common, most common in the US, but you can also get that at Canadian universities. I'm not sure about UK a lot, but I think you might be lucky. I know that maybe in other countries, maybe like Malaysia, South Africa, you can also get graduate assistantship, but that is the main source of funding, the primary or the most common source of funding for graduate study in the US, especially for PhD study. And basically, there are different types, but the most common ones are what we call the TA, that is a teaching assistant, assistantship. You have the research assistantship. Then you have the general one that we call graduate. I'll talk about each of them one after the other. Then you have the one that I see as the Ogapatapatam of them all, which is the research fellowship. Scholarship is also, but here most of the time, if you get research fellowship, yes, you can go and sleep. Yeah, so the first one, scholarship, which we know what it is, a firm, an organization, a body just decide to fund you based on maybe there's some requirements. For example, like the Fulbright Foreign Students Program, they advertise every year. People apply. They might ask you to write maybe like an essay or give reasons why you need this scholarship. They look at they give some requirements, maybe 2-1 minimum, and at the end of the day, you get whatever you want. If you are selected, you get the scholarship. Sometimes it's also a school-based scholarship where the school will give you scholarship, like a lot of schools here too in the US, they give scholarship. If you don't get funding, typically you will always get what we call scholarship. Maybe, for example, tuition fees like 30,000, they might give you like a scholarship of like maybe like 12,000. So you are supposed to go and look for 18,000, something like that. And they will tell you that the funny thing is that the 30,000 is, they'll tell you the 12,000 that they are giving scholarship is going to be used for the 2 semesters. And when I say 30,000 tuition, I mean 30,000 per semester. So typically we have 2 semesters in a year. Here is the fall and the spring. Some schools usually have the summer, some schools have winter, but mostly it's usually the fall that starts from August to December, then the spring that starts from January to May. May to August is usually summer, which is usually the holiday period where you do internship and so on. So some schools will tell you that 12,000 is for the 2. So you are supposed to pay 30,000 for fall semester. You're supposed to pay $30,000 for, and so that is 60,000. So if you remove 12, so go and look for 48,000. So those are some of the scholarships some schools, also give. A lot of times, especially outside the US, I have noticed, most especially in the UK, most of their scholarships are usually for their own, people, citizens. It's very rare for you to get international scholarship. That is why, I kept telling people, come to the US. US is straightforward. Their own people don't send the school because it is stressful to go to school here. When I mean stressful, you will do work, by the time you finish, your head will become bowed. Yes, that is one thing we do here. Yes, you do a lot of work. So there's plenty money here. I won't lie to you. There's plenty money here. If you can choose the right school, do your homework very well, if you're ready to work, I can guarantee you that you will get, you'll get funding. So like I was saying, the next one after scholarship is the GAs, the graduate assistant. The first one is the graduate teaching assistantship. Now, what is graduate teaching assistantship? Graduate teaching assistantship is the one where let me put it this way. Your department employs you. Let me put it that way. They employ you to teach. You can do different things. Like currently, I'm a TA and I'm assigned to a professor who is taking a course where the students are about 115 in number. So the professor here, most times 20 in a class, 25 usually in a class. So like in the case of that professor, they had to split the class into about how many? I can't remember, but I think about 2 classes. But most of the students usually join online. So the professor cannot handle the whole class alone. So they assign 2 teaching assistants to him, which I am one of them. And what do we do? In his own case, he does all the teaching. Sometimes you are allowed to teach, depending on the course, depending on the professor. Like in my former school, I was teaching. But here I don't, for this semester, I didn't, last semester, I'm on holiday now. I didn't teach. So you can be asked to teach, you can be asked to supervise, you can be asked to provide support to students. So what I do generally is to grade. That's what we mark. We grade assignments. I usually have office hours twice every week, where students, if they have any issues, they come, they bring the, depending on the course, it depends on the course you are actually TAing, as in you are assisting. You can be lab work, where you will always be in the lab and assisting students. When we say lab here, not only when we say lab, it doesn't mean only engineering lab, even like a computer science, if you are doing programming, it's also a lab. That's what they call generally, like what we call practicals is what they call lab. So what I do is, apart from grading, I also assist students, because the course I'm teaching is they call it socket programming. It's a course where students need to learn networking and how to program, program network, and so on, using Python. So the students, if they have issues, they give them projects, and they're having issues, they can come to me and I would help them. So that's part of what I do. And now in return, my department, or let me say my faculty, they pay my tuition. They pay my tuition, and they give me what we call stipends every month. Yes. Usually in most schools, if it is what we call full funding, there are times what we call half funding, there's what we call full funding, but most times for PhD students, you get full funding. Full funding is when virtually all your tuition is taken care of. And the stipends you are given in most schools, at least this is my second school in the US, it's usually between, let's say, $1,500 per month to like $2,000 per month. It's usually within that range for for funding, for full funding. And frankly speaking, regardless of where you are, that is enough for you. It's enough for you to take care of yourself. Even though your faculty or your department will be paying they will be paying your tuition, there are still some small monies that you pay. Some fees here, like IT fees, library fees, you pay that. Then some schools will give you, because health insurance is compulsory, some schools will subsidize your, like what my school here does, they subsidize up to like 70% my health insurance. So I pay the remaining one. So every semester I pay around 1, 2, 1, 3. So like every month you can be paying maybe around $250, and so on. So if you are getting, let's say, 1.5, and you pay maybe $250 every month, so you are left with $250. In most places, frankly speaking, by the time you are spending $800, $900 a month, you are okay. I used to tell people, US is a place where you can afford to be saving $300, $400, $500 every month. By Nigerian money, you know what that means. Yes. So even if you have people in the house, in Nigeria, you are here in the US, there are people that depend on you. Frankly speaking, you can afford to be sending them. If you send $100 now to Nigeria now, that is about 50,000 naira. Who will you send 50,000 naira to that will not kneel down and maybe fast and pray for you? 3 days, keep fasting and praying for you because you've done them something big. So that's the way it is. And within 1 year, you can buy a car, because you need a car when you come here. Frankly speaking, you need a car. Yes, especially if you stay in states that are not like cities, you need a car. You're able to, take care of yourself. That's the thing. So in TA, like I said, you teach, you assist in teaching. Not unlike in Nigeria, where you can have 150, 80 in a class, most times 20, 25. So what they do is that, like in my former school, we have a course that almost all the students in the school do it at different times. So how do they do it? They have plenty TAs. Then we were about 9, like in my course. Then that's for my level. The level ahead of me, they were about 5. So they just assign students to us, usually around 20 to 25. You teach them, you grade. But where I am currently, I'm not teaching. I'm just helping to grade and assist students, in their lab. So those are the things that TAs do. And in return, the school pay or whatever, your tuition, and they also give you monthly stipends. The next one is what we call GRA. GRA is similar to whatever in terms of you're also paid, and your tuition is also taken care of. But the difference is that in the case of GRA, you are researching for a professor. You come under like a professor, and the professor will say, okay, I would like to work for you. Go and apply. When you apply, when you come in, it is a professor that is paying you. Yes, that is very possible. Yeah, you have people with funding of, I know some of you are already used to that. You see that, for example, Professor Abinu, Dr. Talia, you see them getting funding. Here, it's a normal thing. If you don't do that here, if you call yourself a professor, you don't get funding, you will not even last. They will send you away. That's the truth. It's the normal thing here. You see people with $1.5 million worth of funding, and so on. And that is why you see that, for example, the US is ahead of everybody. They spend so much money on research. And who does all this research? International students. I would say 70% of graduate students here are international students, like me, like maybe soon to be you, by God's grace, and so on. So what do? You speak to a professor, he asks you to come, you apply, and he takes care of you. He can also give you full funding. He can also give you what do you call it? Partial funding, or maybe half fund. Partial, it can be half. It can even be 25%. And when you do that, the difference between the two is each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages of teaching is that if your plan is, for example, in the future, maybe after graduating, is to become a lecturer, TA is very good for you because already you are gaining that experience. So that might work in your favor after school. But if your plan is to go into industry, GRA might be good for you. Yes, even with the TA, you are still going to do research. Obviously, you can't run away because that's why you are doing PhD. That's your major work is to come and do maybe masters by thesis, or maybe, so you still do research. But in RA, you are more likely to have more maybe publications, because from the word go, you just learn like this. You see some professors, they don't start to give you work. They've started giving you work, go and start working on this paper, go and start working on this. So there's a potential to have more publications with RA, but RA is usually very stressful because depending on if the professor, for example, if the professor is like currently now we're on holiday now. If you are an RA and the professor is going to pay you for December, then he expects you to work for December. So it means that you don't have holiday. That's what it means. So RA can be very stressful because you are in front of your computer. For some people, you are always in the lab. I know people that sleep in the lab almost every day conducting research because they need to be monitoring some equipment. Because based on some time, they need to be recording some values. So they sleep in the whatever. During maybe any small holiday, like what do you call them? All these public holiday, you will see them, you call them, they say they are in school, they are in the lab. That is the problem at times of being an RA. But the TA, the stress is, the grading, the going to class, the teaching. For me personally, I don't like grading. I've always hated marking. So that is one thing I had to do here. So for me, I prefer RA. That's personally, but that's a difference between the two. So each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes you are not left to choose. You don't have an option because, for example, if you don't get a professor to sponsor you, to fund you, you don't have a choice. You have to depend on maybe like a TA. Now, the third one is that I want to talk about is what we call like the general graduate assistantship. That is the one where you do maybe, for example, like an administrative assistant, where maybe like a department in the school will just employ you and ask you to be doing work. Like when I was in my former school, I was a technical editor. where my school used to provide service for students. For example, you write a paper, because we have so many students from different countries, international, for places like all this Pakistan. Some of them, their English writing is not good. They are very intelligent. They know what they are doing. I won't lie to you, some of them, they know more than us, those of us from Nigeria, because their school is more standard. But the only problem is writing in English. So when they want to publish paper and they write, you see, when you are reading, you even be laughing. So those kind of people, the school provide editing service for them, where they submit either their thesis, their dissertation, or their publication, their intended publication, they submit it. So we look at it, correct all the English. I was doing that job, yes, well, whatever. And in return, they were paying me money. Yes, so these are jobs, other jobs that you do that are not academic related per se. As in, what I mean is, it's not a TA, it's not what do you call it, an RA, is just maybe like administrative work. Some of them, they might be like in the IT sector, maybe like because of your skills, they employ you to come. It might be like you're in the, maybe like any department where you are the one answering all inquiries. Whenever somebody sends an email, you are the ones that, you know, and in return, they pay your money. In most cases, those ones is not usually as big as TA and RA. Most times it's just, they just give you like stipends. In most cases, in most times, like in my former school, I was being paid like $10 per hour, and I'm supposed to do like 10 hours every week. So every week I'm entitled to like maybe around $100. Sometimes it's not up to, sometimes it's more than that, you know, and so on. So that one usually does not fully fund you. So what you do, most people go for that when maybe they have half funding, partial funding rather. If their funding is not full and they come into the school, then you go and apply for that. Like I said, the last one, which is for me, I see as the patapata of them, is the research fellowship. Research fellowship is where this one, you won't get this one until you come into, most times until you come into the system, you started working, then you can apply for. This one is where, you, as you can see examples here, these ones are funded by different organizations like Google. You know, the one that I'm praying for and I'm targeting is either Facebook for me, or Google, or Microsoft. Those are the three. Facebook, for example, now their own is about 42,000 annually. Now, the good thing about this one is that if I get this one now, I can rest. I won't need to teach. I won't need to, one professor will not need to be scattering my head and say, you must finish this paper by next week. I won't be, you know, I'm just on my own. But before you can get this kind of fellowship, you must really have demonstrated strong research capacity. And when you apply, because the application is usually many, and they might, for example, now maybe like Facebook, maybe they're only just going to take like 20 out of thousands of applications that will come, you know, from US schools alone. Yes, but I've seen, like in my school here, at least I've seen one or two people who already have it. So I know that it is possible. It is possible, but that is once we have this one, you can just go and sleep. So how do I now secure this funding? My time is almost up, so I'm going to be fast. One of them is to, most especially this applies to GTA and GA. You identify a school, you just go straight, you apply for admission. Then once you are given admission and you come into the system, you can apply for assistantship. Most of the time, once you are applying, some schools, it's part of the application where you can, there's a place where they will maybe like ask you a question. If we don't, do you want assistantship, where you put it that way. In some schools, like I'm sorry, I'm talking about the US now. Some schools will tell you, if we don't give you funding, will you be able to, as in, fund yourself if we give you admission, and you choose no, you know, and so on. Some schools automatically, once you apply and you don't have a GRA position, you are automatically considered for what you call assistantship. But I would warn, if it is the US, you are more likely to get assistantship if you do masters. Frankly speaking, I wouldn't lie to you, because they feel that, I don't know, it's just there. PhD students stay longer. That is one. Two, they are, you know, more mature. They are doing research, so the attention is usually on them than masters. Usually, once they've given as many whatever as possible and there are still assistantship left, then they can start to begin to consider master student. So so when you do that, sometimes it's not as straightforward. You just need to write officially after you get the admission. You will not write maybe like to the chair, that's like the HOD, and ask that you apply for TA position years before you are given. Then if you come inside, if it is the other G administrative, that one you don't even have a choice. You have to wait. School used to advertise. You have platforms where they used to advertise, where you will see it, then you can apply. And if you are selected, lucky you, and so on. But it's expected that some people might be thinking, when I get, I'll combine all of them. No, once you have full funding means full funding in the US university means you work 20 hours a week. That is apart from your school, apart from going to classes, doing your normal academic work. Because we are paying you, you are giving us 20 hours every week as a TA, or maybe to your professor, 20 hours every week as an RA. If you have that full funding, you are not expected to add anything like a GA position. You are not allowed to add. If you go behind and go and get, it won't go through. Because even if you are given the job, when it gets to payroll will not approve it. Because here, everything is monitored. So that is the thing. That's one option. For GRE, generally what you do is to identify a prof or a school. You express interest to work with the professor. If you are lucky and the professor responds to your interest, then you are lucky. You tell you go ahead and apply. Like somebody I was speaking to, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? He wrote to somebody and the professor said, yes, that he would like to work with him, that he should go ahead and apply. Unfortunately for the guy, 15th, today is 17th, yes, 2 days ago, that day was the deadline. Though I've told him to mail the professor, they know what to always do. Yes, but you might be lucky. Sometimes the professor doesn't respond, you still go ahead and apply. That shouldn't stop you from applying. Now, how to express interest with the professor? Most times, a lot of people just go online, go and copy and paste, I think I need to talk about this very well. You just go and paste sample letters to a professor. You just edit the name and just send. Some professors said some people make a mistake. You could still see evidence. Maybe they made a mistake in the name of the school. They forgot to change the name of the school. So you could see that it's the same letter they send to every professor. See, here is the way things are done here. If you send something, it is very likely such email will end up in the spam folder of that professor. That's the thing. If you really want to work with the professor, then you must demonstrate that. I tell people the best way to do that is go to that professor's publication link, wherever it is, maybe on Google Scholar or wherever, go and check those things. Take 1 or 2 papers of that professor. You can edit it. Sorry, I said edit. You can read it and make comments and send it. Don't even title your email, I want to work with you. You can just title it the feedback on your paper on biology. For example, on cybersecurity, for example. There's nobody that will see that will not be captivated. And you inside it, you just talk about, it might just be 1 line of contribution. I feel that you can do this in this, whatever. And if I'm given the option, I would like to come and work under you to extend this paper. There's no professor that will not like, because 1, you have shown real interest in his work, and so on. There are different ways, but that is one of what I feel is the surest way. Now, one thing with them here is that they receive a lot of emails, frankly speaking, and these guys are so busy. When I came here, I just decided, I said, I don't think, even if I finish and I decide to stay in the US, I don't want to lecture. They do a lot of work, so they don't really have time. So you want to make sure that if a professor is going to read your email, then your email is worth the while. That is why it is important to express real interest and let the person know that this email was really composed for me and for me alone. Yes. But like I said, because you receive a lot, you might not get response. And even though you put a lot of effort into producing that email, you don't get effort. Don't waste your time. Just go ahead and apply. There was a boy that is currently in my former school now. He was lucky. In his own case, he expressed interest to work with the professor. The professor responded, and what do you call them? The professor responded, and they had interview, and eventually he was not selected. But he was lucky. I guess while his documents were flying around in the department, because they take it around to people. So one professor picks it. When the professor picked his documents, he contacted him that, see, I would like to interview you. And the interview, and today he's working under that professor. Full funding. Yeah, so you might be lucky, so the fact that maybe a professor doesn't respond, it shouldn't stop you. Some people don't even waste time. They don't even waste time to start identify. They just go ahead and apply and express the person they would like to work with in their SOP. That's their statement of purpose or personal statement, whatever the school calls it, and that is how, like in my case, that's what I did, where the school I am here. I was just applying to school because I started applying late. So what I did was that in my SOP, I indicated 2 professors. That's what I do. I try to indicate minimum of 2. For this school, I indicated 3 professors I wouldn't mind working with. And I provided reason why I would like to work with them. And eventually one of them contacted me and is the one that I'm working with, today. So these are ways where you do and for you to get this funding. Like for the fellowship, it's usually straightforward. And once you are in the system, a lot of them will tell you that they expect you to have finished coursework first before you apply. So when they make applications, you write proposals. Some will request for as in when you come to us, what do you want? Which research do you want us to do for us to fund? Some of them, they have research already. For example, like all these Adobe, Google, Microsoft, Apple, all the big ITs here, they have research and development research arm where academicians work. Not academicians, as in graduate work. All they do all the time is to do research. So all these products that you see them releasing, you see them, whatever, they are products of research. And it is people like me and you that work there. Yes, just people that graduate and you have expertise in that field and you're able to work there. So some of them, they usually have research on ground. So, but you will still need to always write something. Most times there's always a proposal to write. So once you get the application, you learn about whatever you apply, and you connect, you go around, meet with people who have done it before, maybe who are awardees or who have the experience. You meet professors in that field so that what you produce will put you ahead, of everybody. So that is very important. Now, the last one is, sorry, my time is off. I'll be fast. Getting ahead of the pack, you need well-articulated SOP, that statement of purpose. Your statement of purpose will for you to get TA, for you to get, maybe an hourly position, your statement of purpose must be top-notch. Yes, very, very, you must write it well. The focus must always be on your research. Focus. If it is PhD, most portion of your whatever should focus on your research. This is what I have done. Even if it is only your final year project, that is the only research that you have done. You paint it, like let it look like, wow, I did this research, this was what we did, we use this method, and so on. Just pamper it very well. Let it look, sweet. Then the next one is, because of my time, good recommendation. I know Dr. Charlie has talked about it. Good recommendation, very good. I want to add that, please, anybody that is giving you recommendation, let them emphasize your research capacity. It's very, very important, especially if you're coming to the US. Your research, ability to do research, but not here. They don't like where you say, this guy is, like the way we used to write, is extremely diligent, he's loving, he's careful, he has mental. No, here you show. You don't tell, you show. That's what they prefer here. So if you want to tell me this guy has research capacity, tell me the research that this guy has done. If you don't need to tell me, just tell me the research he has done. This guy is a very responsible man. Show me how is he responsible. Just by saying this guy, while he was in school, he was a class rep of his class, he was the whatever, that enough has shown that he's a responsible person. So that is the way. So when you are telling your whatever to write for you, don't focus on those big grammar that will make your whatever. No, focus on what you have done, focus on what you are, focus on example is what you should just be citing. Very, very important. That is very key. Then research experience is also key. Like I said, research is the key here. So that is why for those of you, maybe you have not graduated, please start meeting people, joining people. And that's one thing they do here. Start meeting people, start getting research experience, join them to do research. Even if they don't put your name in the publication, but the fact that you help them to gather data, you help them to analyze data. Tomorrow, when you want to get recommendation, the professor, maybe the coordinator of that research or whatever group can say this person participated, was very actively part of this research when we did this research, when we did that research. That is very key. Then technical skill is also very good. Yes, here For example, you can't be a graduate of computer science here and they don't expect that you cannot program. It's somehow. So these are some of the things when you especially when you contact a professor and the professor indicates that he wants to work with you, most times these are some of the things they'll be asking you during the interview. Your technical skills. Can you do this? What can you do? What is this? What is that? So that is very, very important. The relevant research focus, this applies majorly to yes, it applies to even when you want to get GRE, because when you want to apply to a school, you want to make sure that your area, you find a professor that is in your area. If at the end of the day, your SOP shows that nobody is in your area, for example, they won't give you admission. Then also when it is comes to research fellowship, you want to make sure that you have the relevant research focus. For example, Facebook used to fund a lot of research on privacy, research on like all this fake news, hate speech, spread through social media, things like that. And if you have been conducting research in that area, that will obviously work in your favor. So these are some of the things that you need. Lastly, I want to talk about this. I'll just do that in 30 seconds. Education USA. Please, if you have not come across this, please, I want you to take note of this, guys. It's an academic service provided by the US Embassy, and they have office at the embassy in Abuja and also the embassy in Lagos. What they do is that they provide resources to help you, that'll prepare you for graduate school in the US. And if you are a first class student, it's free to join. But if you are 2-1, you pay money to join. And if you are first class, they have this scholarship that they used to have that you can apply to. And if you get that scholarship, they'll pay for your GRA, they'll pay for your tuition, they will help you with when you get admission and you are coming here, they will pay for your flight ticket. You might also be lucky, they'll give you some money at least to come and start life with. Yes, Education USA. Especially it's most beneficial to people that are in Abuja. Yes, if you want to write GRA and want to become a member of the Education USA, Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday, you can be going to the embassy every day. They have an office there. They are staff of the embassy. You can be going there every day to go and read. They have very nice atmosphere. They have all the resources for you. You see people that will guide you. It's a very nice resources. So please take advantage of that. Thank you for sharing for your time. Sorry for the time that I took. Thank you. Questions now?
Wow. We really appreciate that, sir. That was a wonderful presentation, and there was so much for even me that I've already started so many applications to give. Wow, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate. And most of those people that have been following us in this series, you'll see that many of the things that are being mentioned are things that we have always been emphasizing on from all the workshops we've been having. So it's time for question and answer. Um, Anybody has a question, you can just put up your hands and unmute your mic and ask your question, or you can drop it on the chat section. Okay, Hamza Musa, please, you can unmute your mic and ask your question. Hamza Musa, are you there? Hello, Hamza Musa.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're not loud enough. We can hear you, but you're not loud enough.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Sir Oluwafemi, for the opportunity. I'm sorry, my question is we don't have money to even go for the GRE exams and all that. How do you go about it? Is there any option B or something?
That's the saying if you don't have money to do GRE and so on. Hello? 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 Can you guys hear me?
Hello, Yes, I
Yes,
can
sir,
hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't get his question. I wanted to be sure of
Okay,
what.
yeah. Good evening, sir. The next question.
No,
Good
sorry,
evening, sir.
Hamza asked the question. Sorry, read one. Uh,
Okay.
answer, Hamza, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
You said if you don't have money for GRE, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. There are two answers I'm going to give. One is if you don't give, you might not get. So, with all due respect, there are some things that um, it's worth borrowing money for. For example, if you are going to, when the time you graduate, some of you are going for service. And I know that federal government pay how much now? Is it 36,000 naira per month? There's nothing that stops you from maybe saving 15,000, 16,000 out of 36,000 per month, and plan that before you finish your service, I'm going to write GRE and I'm going to write maybe TOEFL and whatever. That is one option. I've seen people that it was during their service that they did all the GRE, they did all the TOEFL. That is one. Two, some of us, we borrow money to buy clothes, we get money to buy. It's a sacrifice that is going to pay. You see people, businessmen going to collect loans. Why? Because they see a bigger future. So if you see a bigger future, you want something big, then it doesn't come cheap. And most times you yourself know that anything that is free, a wolf, they run belly. Most times we don't value it. Yeah. So to demonstrate that you're really serious, you really want it, get the money. That is one option. Second option is you are like in the US, because of COVID, last year, this year, and I've discovered even for next year application, a lot of schools are waiving GRE. A lot of schools are waiving GRE. So if you had graduated, whether you have served or not, you had graduated and you want to come to school in the US, if you have not applied by now, then there's an issue. A lot. I'm sure Adiza will provide you information about many schools that are providing GRE-free admission. Now, for proficiency, before it used to be TOEFL, IELTS, TOEFL, and so on. But a lot of schools now are beginning to accept Duolingo. Duolingo is just about, I think, 17 or 22,000 naira. And the also advantage of Duolingo is that you can sit in your house and write Duolingo. And Duolingo is very simple. So simple that I can confidently say you can prepare for Duolingo in just two days, 1 day, 2 days, and go and write it. Write it. You won't even see materials online. The only materials you see are YouTube videos. Just watch the videos, go and write your exam. So you have opportunity. Join groups. I know that this Ignite Research Academy provides that platform where you ask questions. You see a list of schools where they don't accept GRE, so it is very possible. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
No,
Next
sir.
question. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you so much, sir. Okay, read one, please.
Yeah.
Or
Thank you
let
so
me
much,
just put
sir.
it. Okay,
Okay.
just go
Thank
on.
you so much, sir. Sir, my question is, doing application, right? I mean, when someone wants to apply, and during their process of application, you meet all the requirements, but you see it there that they put school fee there, right? But you know that at the end of the day, you want to request for maybe GRA or GA or whatsoever. So does it mean that you overlook the fact that they put the school fee there? You apply, then they will give you admission. Then after the admission, you now tell them that you don't actually have that money for the school fee. Then this is what
Which
you
country is
request.
that?
USA.
It's very rare to see them put in school fees. Even if they put school fees, it's not a requirement. As in, yes, school fees is general, part of what, but it's not an admission requirement. There's a difference between admission requirement, then for you to be enrollment requirement and so on. For admission requirement, very few schools would ask you to, except if it is undergraduate. You might be asked to demonstrate that you'll be able to fund by providing, but it's very rare. I've applied to a couple of schools. I've seen people apply to 10, 15 schools. I've seen people who are currently applying to schools, and I've not heard anybody say, sir, this is what I saw, and because of that, I couldn't apply. No schools will put, I've not seen any school here in the US that will put that as part of the application process, this is our school fees, and you must show evidence that no. If it is for graduate study, I'm not sure of undergraduate, but graduate study, no, they won't do that.
Okay,
See,
so that means
let me tell
after
you
the
guys,
admission,
okay, you said?
after the admission now, please,
No,
what are the
after the
processes?
admission, they know that after the admission, the whatever they will usually, yes, they will send you an email, like in my former school, they sent me an email and they said I should provide, was it in my case, was it around $11,000? So immediately I saw that, I just wrote to the department, because before I was applying, I was told that there was funding. So I just wrote to the department. The department now said, okay, I shouldn't worry. It's the department that gives you funding, but it's the graduate school. For example, in FET, we have School of Postgraduate Study. Yes, here we call it graduate school, or School of Graduate Study. It's the graduate school that sends you letter. It's the department that choose, this is the person we want to apply, admit, and these are the people we want to fund. So once they settle that, they send the list to graduate school. Sometimes the list of people to be funded has not gotten to the graduate school. So graduate school will just send you letter of admission. They will also send you, it depends on the school. Like in my current school now, it's even the faculty that sends you admission letter. So it's as beautiful as that. But most times, if it is for TA, most times the offer of funding doesn't come at the same time. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Sometimes, like when I came here, the first of all sent me application, admission, whatever. So I told my advisor that, sir, I've gotten the admission letter. I said I shouldn't worry, I'll get the funding offer. And it was about maybe 1 week, 2 weeks later than the funding offer came. So it's usually that. But even if the graduate school sends you your application letter and said, show whatever, the moment the department send them the list that, okay, we are giving Redwan so amount of funding, the graduate school will send you another letter. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yes, they'll
Yes,
send
sir.
you always.
So that means that for you to get that during the initial stage of application, you must see that there is funding available.
Yes, and please, any school, I want to tell you, any school you want to apply to, go to the departmental site, make sure that you see it explicitly written that they have assistantship position. They might tell you that it is competitive, they have whatever, but let it be there. If they don't, you will always see the detail of somebody to contact, like maybe like the program coordinator. Write to the program, send an email to the program coordinator. Those ones are likely to respond faster because they are occupying administrative position. Yes, they will give you answer if they have assistantship. Any school that does not have assistantship, please run away. But from my experience, it's very rare, especially for if you are in engineering, if you are in science. When I say science, like all this computer science, biology, chemistry. See, this year, guys, you just see professor just doing a lot of sending WhatsApp messages, just advertising. It's like that. Because the COVID now has even stopped many people. Because before, if you come here as Indians are so many. There are so many. You take what do you call them, Chinese, there are many. Then after that, you take Nigerians, we too are very many, So, but because of all this COVID, a lot of people are not coming to the US. So funding just day ground. They are looking for their own people will not do graduates. If they manage to do first degree, that's all. They go and start working and they are making money. If they manage to. So graduate study for them is only those of them who want to lecture, become professors, lecture. Those are the ones that come for graduate. But they are very few. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, please, what's the significance of GRE? Why is it necessary?
GRA, as in,
yes.
You mean GRE or GRE?
GRE.
It's like the JAMB. It's the JAMB of graduate study here. Just the way you write JAMB to enter, to know who is qualified. Here, if it is undergraduate, you write what we call, what do you call that? SAT. Okay. And there's another one that is also ACT. But if it is graduate study, you're coming, it's GRE. But frankly speaking, a lot of schools are now beginning to do away with GRE, not even just because of the COVID, because they are beginning to see that it's not really a test of who is qualified. It's supposed to be like a qualifying exam, but they are now beginning to see that it's really not a test of. So a lot of schools are now they are de-emphasizing it. Yes, they've been de-emphasizing it. So COVID has even now given them an opportunity to say, see, since a lot of people are not able to go and write exams physically, so let's do away with GRE. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, sir. Sir, last question, please. I'm sorry.
Read one, please.
So
Can we give opportunity for other people to ask questions? Our time is gone. Just join the group chat, and whatever question you have, we would definitely try to address it.
Okay,
so
sir,
there's a question I think there are two more people we are going to be attending to on the question and answer. One person on the group chat said, or on the chat section says that, please sir, is it advisable to join Education USA while as an undergraduate student?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it is possible. There's a difference between you want to, but is it possible? Because one of the requirements is your you can join as what they do is that is not only for graduates school they take care of. For example, they go to schools like in Abuja, all these public schools to go and that secondary schools to get very good students with the plan of grooming them and for study for their university abroad. So they do that. But once you are already in the university, I think you must finish because they need to know what is your CGPA at the end of the day. So I'm not sure, but just go online, search for Education USA, get their Abuja number if you are close to Abuja, and if it is Lagos, get their Lagos number and call them to inquire. Yes, I'm not too sure. I doubt, but I think it would be nice to call them to confirm.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So the last person is Olamilekon Yusuf. Please, Olamilekon, be as brief as possible. And if you have so many questions, you can just join the group chat and ask the question there. So you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Lekon.
Okay. Yeah, my question is that what are the advice can you give for an undergraduate student like on scholarship, probably receiving 400K per year? How do you think this can help in achieving the postgraduate scholarship in USA, sir?
I think it's a straightforward question. Sorry, it's a straightforward answer. First of all, what do you want? What's your plan? God has helped you. You have a scholarship now. What do you want? If you're an undergraduate, guys, and those of you who are undergraduates here and who are planning to further, see, not only just further we are doing now, we also want to, I know Dr. Folonjo might not like this, we also want to leave Nigeria. Nigeria's situation is bad. And I want you guys to go and see. I tell guys, I said, if you don't leave Nigeria, Dr. Folonshaw will also tell you, he has been to Cyprus before to school, so he knows what we are saying. If you don't leave Nigeria, you would think that whatever you are doing now, you would think that is the only option. Is when you leave, you will really understand how much we are suffering. So this is what I would advise. If you're an undergraduate beyond the money, if your plan is to further and you want to further outside the country, please go and hook up to a lecturer in your department that you know this person likes research and start working with them. Not only when it is your final year. All those times you guys spend watching football, doing play, please start spending it. Attach yourself to a professor. Thank God for people like Professor Albino, people like Professor Folonshaw that are very serious with research. And I know people like Adiza have benefited from them. Please go and hook yourself to people like them and start following, even if it is to be cleaning table and observing from far when they are talking about research. Gradually, they will tell you, come and sit down at the back. Gradually, they will tell you, come and sit down beside us. Gradually, they will tell you that, okay, you go on the field and go and gather data. Those things will work well for you. Seriously, I can guarantee you. One of my former students who is at Missouri University of Science and Tech now, let me give you his experience. When he was in school, both of us, he was my project student. But before that, I saw his interest. We started doing research together. And by the time he finished, he went for service and he came back and he applied. I told him, make sure you do GRE during service. He did GRE and TOEFL during service. And he was the one that I was talking about that spoke to a professor. The professor interviewed him and didn't pick him. But another professor saw his document and wanted to work with him. And in his own case, he was even lucky. Eventually, the professor interviewed him and said, yes, I would like to work with you. Go ahead and apply. So when he applied, the professor gave him partial funding, half funding. But luckily for him, he applied to many schools. So one other schools gave him admission and gave him full funding. So immediately he got that, he was now confused. He really wanted to work with this professor that was giving him half funding because of he was a full professor and the guy has produced a lot of big guys, as in his former student who had graduated, they are doing well in the industry. Now there's this other new guy, assistant professor, a new professor that just started work around 2 years ago, but in his own department are giving full funding, TA. But this other professor at Missouri is giving RA, but half funding. I told him, no, go and meet this other person. Tell this other person that, sir, I've gotten full funding here. And please, I might be tempted to go because I don't have money to pay for the remaining half. And the professor within 24 hours changed his letter, and so on. This guy is able to do this because he has prepared himself. So I would advise you guys, if you are an undergraduate, please hook yourself, start doing research, start putting money aside to write, start equipping yourself. I was impressed with somebody I was speaking with today. Actually, it was Adiza, and she told me what she did. She woke up very early in the morning, around 5 a.m. I said it was 11 because you guys are 6 hours ahead of us, and it was around 11 in the night. I noticed she has woken up. I said, did you sleep at all? She said she has to do a lot of things. What do you do? One of the things is that she spends a lot of time, what do you call it, on Coursera, all this machine learning, techniques. She's learning them. How are you coping with data? He said that's a sacrifice that she's doing. How will that person not succeed? That's the question. There's no how she will not succeed. There's no how tomorrow she will talk to a professor and the professor will not work with her. Why? Because you'll be able to demonstrate capacity, not only for research, also for technical capacity. That if I'm coming to come and use a machine learning techniques, I already know the machine learning techniques. I know how to program machine learning techniques. So this is what I expect you guys to be doing. Even if tomorrow you don't get admission or you don't get funding, the skills that you have developed while you are in school, you will use it to make money. So all those of you, for example, in FUT Mina, that spend your time in VC's Senate building and all you do is browsing and downloading games, downloading movies, please be spending your time on Coursera. Spend your time on edX, learning platforms. Most of them are free. All you just need to do is your time and data. You can use free data. Some of you are MTN, you know how to get all these cheats, whatever. You can do 12 to 5 where you will, just do. That is what I would advise. Please, there is so much opportunity here. I won't lie to you. It's until I came here, I saw that, see, if you have a plan and you're ready to devote minimum, let's say 18 months to 20 to 24 months, that in the next, this is December 2021, by December 2023, I want to be in the US. I can guarantee you that it would work. I believe that the platform by Ignite Research Academy would help you to make sure that is possible. But it has to come from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That answer was really, really elaborate. Okay, so sorry I said the final question, but I have one question here, but it is for Dr. Tolia. Somebody posted it on the group chat. So before we leave, I don't know, Dr. Tolia, sir, are you still here? Hello, Dr. Folorushon. Okay.
Maybe step away.
I guess it's
okay.
Not, yes.
Yes, I am.
So,
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Thank you, sir. So the question says, there's a question here for you. It was posted on our IRA community. So the question says that instead of needing your school for several academic transcripts to several universities applications, how can one utilize just a transcript for several schools without visiting the university again?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Technically, it is difficult in the sense that each transcript is meant to be addressed to a particular school. And the only way that could happen is the approach I said, my approach. Look for a way you can get one of your transcripts to yourself, get it certified. You upload that certified transcript, maybe in the law courts, in the local courts that says this is an original copy of the transcript, and you use it. But you will still have to present a transcript that is directly addressed to that school before you can get selected. Take, for instance, when I went for my master's, what I did was that I presented the scanned copy of the transcript I had. But I was told that on my resumption, I must present my original transcript addressed to the school. I also give you an instance of one of my students in CMU, Rwanda. She used a student copy transcript to get the admission, and she was told that upon resumption, she needed to present the original transcript. So in her own case, she was even given scholarship, and she started the program, and we were battling to get the hard copy transcript from FUT Benin to send. So we had to pay another money. I personally collected and lobbied that it should be posted. So we monitored down to DHL, getting the tracking code, and we continuously track it till it was delivered. So is it possible to do that? Yes, it is possible. But will the school accept a transcript not addressed to them? That I don't know. And I know from my little experience, most schools will not. So you need a transcript addressed to them. I hope that answers the person's question. And Oga Osho may want to add more to it.
Okay.
Okay.
So just the way you described that your students at CMU, that's how actually it is in most schools here. I would say 90% of the schools here. During application, they allow you to submit unofficial copy. Unofficial copy could be like the Dr. Folansha talked about, the, what do you call it, like your student copy. Because if you have to be, see, any school, those are some of the things, like when I was applying, those are some of the things I would advise you to use to cut down on schools. As in, when you want to screen out schools, you look at a couple of things. One of the things you do is any school that asks you to submit official copy during application, don't bother with that school. Because I know in FET now is about, is it 30 something, 25,000, I'll be how much now to apply for transcript, official transcript. But most schools will ask you during application to submit unofficial copy. Then once you are given admission, then you submit, which is a straightforward. Since I know I'll be going to the school, then there's no need, I don't need to, I know I should submit a whatever. And many schools these days also accept even what you call email copy. Like my school here, they accept email copy. That's eventually when I was given admission and I need to submit official copy. So all I just needed to do was to talk to in FUT. I also finished from FUT, and they sent email copy. Email copy from what I know is less expensive. I think it's around 10,000 naira in FUT, while the hard copy is around, is it 25,000, something like that. So that is also an option that is also possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. At this point in time, it has really been a nice time with our presenters. They have impacted a lot. Thank God for most of the undergraduate students that were online. I really wish I had this opportunity when I was an undergraduate. I know that things would have been better, but all the same, thank God for the knowledge being gained today. So before we close, I would like to inform us that we'll be having the last workshop for this series tomorrow morning by 10 a.m. and you would not like to miss it. It's going to be on writing research proposals. Please, I would advise that we be a part of that workshop. We'll be posting the flyers on the group chat, and also we'll be publicizing. Do well to be part of the workshop. It will be by 10 a.m. tomorrow. So I think with that, we have come to the end of the workshop. Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwafemi Osho. Thank you so much, Dr. Folorisho, and also appreciation goes to all our participants today. We really appreciate you on behalf of IRA team. Thank you so much, and I think I can declare the workshop closed.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And Oga Osho, it's nice seeing you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Same here.
Yes,
Bye.
sir.